If I had to pick one Xperience by Kentico feature that resonates with customers more than any other, it would have to be the page builder. The no-code visual web page builder is powerful, and it demos really well. It's friendly to non-technical users, and it helps marketers stay on brand with their website design and message. But this doesn't come for free. Developers need to consider who they're enabling when they create components and templates for the page builder. And that's why I invited Elmar Ho, a Kentico MVP and senior web engineer, to this expert chat. Elmar has years of experience working with Kentico and a lot of wisdom to share when it comes to building DXP solutions, like why it's valuable to really understand the page builder's technology when it comes to designing a website, how to help marketers feel productive and confident when building web pages, and why we should always use page templates in Xperience by Kentico, even when we don't need them today. Okay, let's jump over to the conversation. Hey everyone, for today's Xperience by Kentico Expert Chat, we have with us Kentico MVP, Elmar Ho. Elmar, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everyone how you work with Kentico, what your role is at your agency, anything like that?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Elmar Ho. I'm from Germany, and I work with Kentico for 13 years from now. And my current role is a senior web engineer at my agency, and I'm responsible for set up enterprise projects for our clients with focus on web technologies. And we use Xperience by Kentico to achieve this for our clients, yes.
Okay, so you've been working with Kentico's products for quite a while.
Yes, I started with Kentico 4, I think. It's a long time ago. But
yeah, that was a long time ago.
It is a long time ago, yes. But yes, I know Kentico very good, and I made the whole journey from the Portal engine over MVC projects to the .NET Core projects as we know it today. And I love it very much. It's a great system for our solutions, yes.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And it seems like you've been through quite a few changes and iterations in technology and approaches that Kentico's had to helping marketers build and manage websites. And going back to the Portal engine days, marketers would have worked with the product with Kentico in a slightly different way to maybe how they're doing it today, yes, with a focus of building web experiences for their customers centered around the page builder in Xperience by Kentico. And I was thinking we could talk about that topic today, specifically as a developer, as an engineer, which is the role you have. How do you think about designing page builder components like widgets and sections and things like that to enable marketers to be productive with them? Like, how do you have techniques you use to design them in a marketer-friendly way? And more generally, we can talk about the page builder and a marketer's use of it with their website.
Yes. Yes, of course. When we speak about the page builder, the first thing is you do not have to build everything with this page builder components. Yeah, it's always a mix of static content and modular components. And it depends on your client and the project at all, what fits best for them to work with it. So I would recommend the first thing everyone should consider is to go deeper into this and think about how could this client, this marketing team work best with components and dynamic controls and so on. Because in some projects they like to be very flexible. They like to be very free in the way they design the website templates or layouts or something like that. And in other projects, they prefer static content and with little less areas where they can add some individual content or components. So it's always a mixture of that. And that's the first step to speak with your clients and decide in which way you want to do this. How much flexibility should be allowed for the marketing team, and that's the base of the architecture and the design for the components.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're not designing the page builder just to suit the, let's say, layout of the page or the content that you're trying to display. Instead, you're starting with the marketer, what their preference is, the amount of control they want to have, what their goals are with the website that they're going to be in charge of. You start from their perspective first.
Yeah, that's correct. So that it is at the end, it should fit for the customer and not for me. So that's very important, because I think it's one of the most important things at all in a web project, that the marketeers, which are the people who will work with the system, can work in the system in a good way that fits to their art of they are working, and so on. So when someone asks them, is this a good system, they will measure this on the way they are working there and how intuitive it is and what they can do in this system. And when it's too clunky or if it is not well designed, they will say, nah, it's not a good system. But when it fits their needs, for them, it's a great system, beautiful system. And so that's a very important point. And the next thing, when we go deeper into this, when it comes to the design of the individual components, it's very important to have them intuitive, I think, and well documented. So do not do it too complex. Do not do it too difficult to understand. Think about keeping it in small parts so that it is modular and reusable. And to get them more intuitive, use the documentations and explanations you can still use in the system. You have the possibility to add some explanation text to all of your properties in the widget dialogues and so on, so that marketeer do not have to go to an external documentation and read something about this. It's all there and keeps it intuitive, and that's always a very great thing I do every time I create such a component, and I get very good feedback on doing this, because they can just work with it. They do not have to learn much about this first. So
that sounds like a great approach. It sounds like you're, as an engineer, very thoughtful about the experience that a marketer is going to have, and you want them to be successful with the components that you create. And you hearing that you provide instructions and make it clear what to use in the different options of these components sounds like that would absolutely help a marketer, especially one that's maybe new to a team that's been told they need to use Xperience by Kentico, and they say, what's that? And then they get introduced to the page builder experience, and they start using components you designed where you were thoughtful about what things they might struggle with to help them along. I love that. But that leads me to another question, which is, you're using the page builder all day as a Xperience by Kentico software developer. You're in there clicking around, building components, testing them. So there's probably lots of things that by now are things you take for granted. You're completely accustomed to the product and the platform. Are there things that you see marketers struggling with since maybe they don't have the same amount of experience that you do with the page builder? Are there things that are common problems that they run into?
Yes. There are some problems when it comes working with components and modular designs, but this is also a problem when it comes to architecture design, from the developers. One of the worst things in this context is that you have dependencies on the components. So, for example, a widget which shows an article teaser or something like that works only in a section for article teasers, and this is only working in a page template for article overview pages. And the problem is that the developers did not think about restricting the use of those components only to this context areas. So they are available everywhere. And then a marketeer adds such a component in a complete other context, and he does not understand why this is not working. This is one of the big tasks for the developers when it comes to design the modular architecture of the components, because I think sometimes it's because they get HTML dummies, for example, from another agency or whatever, a front-end agency, and they try to, they just copy and paste the markup into components, or they do not design it in a way that they are working independently on each other, because in those click dummies, you have all sometimes dependencies, nesting dependencies and so on. Mm-hmm. And this is important that you do not do this. Or if you have to do it, that you use the system's abilities to restrict the widgets which are used in the sections to those which are working in this context. So that's what I would recommend, to watch that this is granted, so that the marketeers are not lost in some nestings and it is not working. So this is what I have seen a lot of times. And this is not good, not a good architecture. I would recommend to keep it always modular and independent from each other. And I would recommend to not to add dependencies in the structures. And we have, in the page builder, we have 3 layers of content, and you should consider to design the components in a way that every context, or you should use constraints to allow it only in this or that area. Now, that's very important. So if you do this, the marketeers will not be confronted with these problems.
Okay. So I've thought of, heard of this idea referred to in the past as falling into the pit of success. Like if you stumble and you don't really know what you're doing and you fall, you're going to at least end up in a good place. And it sounds like you're telling developers they should put restrictions in place, put guardrails in place in the page builder that make sure that a marketer can only do things that will create pleasant and accessible and usable experiences in the page builder for their customers.
Yes, that's right. The page builder is a very powerful tool, and you can add dozens of components. And if it is not restricted, you will have a very big catalog of widgets. And when more widgets are not working in this area, but they are visible for the marketeers, this is not a good design. So consider to make less components and better components which work independent, and so that they are reusable as well. you can. What I also see very often is that you have a widget, for example, which is almost a whole page. Yeah, so they have very much functionality baked into one widget. So they have a page type, and they place one widget, and this widget brings a lot of things into this page. And this is also not a very good idea, because you should consider to use a page template instead of a widget doing this. And the widget should be smaller pieces of content and content blocks which work as standalone things. And when it becomes more complex, you should consider to do it in a page type or in a page template directly. So that's also a thing that I see very often, that you have 20 widgets, but they are only used once in the whole website, but are always listed in the widget list, and that makes no sense. So this is one thing I would also recommend, that you locate your content into the correct component. Yeah, you have to consider, is it really a widget, or is it maybe more a section, or even part of static content in a page template? So that's also something you have to engineer first before you start implementing it.
Yeah, and that goes back to your original recommendation that not everything needs to be a widget.
Yeah,
a developer really needs to think about what is going to be the best marketer experience.
Yeah, that's exactly that. Even now you have you have also template properties, to control how static content should be rendered into your page. Yeah, maybe sometimes developers implement it as widget because they can have control how it is rendered in widget properties, but you can also do it in the template properties as well. So you do not have to do it as a widget anymore, only to have it configurable. It is also possible in the template as well. And you should consider, do I really need this here as widget? Is it used in another page as well? Or is it just content on this one page here? Maybe a news overview page or something like that, and it show some teasers of the latest news or whatever. Is it really needed somewhere else, or do we have only this one news overview page? Then make it in a template and not in as a widget. We're not needed somewhere else. So these are the thoughts behind this.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned page templates and page template properties. I think they're a very underutilized feature of the page builder. I think a lot of developers that are new to Kentico aren't familiar with them. They don't see them maybe in the demos or demo code that they look at, and they don't realize that they're a key part of the page builder technology stack.
Yeah.
And to kind of maybe touch on that, so we've been talking about the different parts of the page builder that a developer could use. So there's kind of at the high level, you have the page template and page template properties. Then you have sections and section properties and widget properties. There's quite a bit going on there. When you get a design, a web design, or maybe a design that's already been cut up into HTML and CSS, do you think it's important for the technical people or the designers that are creating that HTML and CSS to understand the page builder in Xperience by Kentico? Or can I take a template that I found on the internet and just bring that into a Kentico solution and it'll work fine? Do you think there's a need there for those front-end developers to understand how the page builder works?
Yeah, it depends. I think it's, of course, you can just add any template as a page type rendering, or as a template at all. This will also work. But when it when you want to have it modular in this way with templates and sections and widgets, I think at least it's important to understand that the components should work independently from each other, and that it is not needed to have them nested in a special CSS class dependency construct or something like that. So when the front-end developers know this and design their components as well in this way, it is no problem to separate that whole markup later and split it into single components. I think this is good to know for them, but it's also very easy to communicate with them. And then it's very easy to create or to develop components based on a given HTML markup. Yeah.
That makes sense. So maybe it's less about understanding the page builder and all the technology there, and more about thinking of a design and a layout for a web page as being a composition of components rather than a design of a page. It's not just a page altogether. It's a series of components you're combining together in unique ways to give an experience to the visitor of that website.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's in modern days, it's more important than in the past to have a very modular design in every system, not only in Kentico, because we have the need to use components, to reuse them, and to have them modular in a modular way to maybe replace them in the future with another component or something like that, or that they should work in another context or something like that. And I think this degree of complexity has been risen in the last years. It was not so much required in the past, where we have only one website which was visited in the Internet Explorer on a Windows PC machine. Today we have so much different presentation devices and channels and so on. So this becomes more and more important to have it in a modular design at all. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that's some good guidance and things to think about for developers as they're using the page builder. And I'd like to kind of pivot that idea around. And we were talking about things that you can do for marketers to improve their experience and problems that you see marketers have sometimes. What are a couple key problems you notice developers having with the page builder, or things you would recommend them watching out for and avoiding?
Yeah, I think one of the hidden features is, as you also mentioned, the template and the template properties. This is one feature which is often not used, because out of the box, when you start working with this, the focus is only on widgets and sections. And when you start developing, you sometimes only use page types and controllers with page type renderings, and you have to add another layer of content to this to get templates and template properties working. And this is something I would recommend for every new developer to have an eye on it, because it's a very powerful layer of additional control. And this is really good. You can control static content, how it is look like, or how it should look like, or in this one template. And you one of the biggest benefits of using templates is that you can switch between different templates. So when we come back to our example with the news overview, when someone decided, I don't want to use this kind of overview in the English version of my page, they want to have it completely in another way. They want to have a list and not teasers or something like that. You can just switch another template but use the same page types for static content properties, and maybe some content areas for additional widgets you will want to add to this page. But it's done by just one click, and the page looks in a completely other way, but contains the same information, and that's very powerful.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I imagine a lot of developers, if they haven't seen page templates before, wouldn't really understand what that feels like or what that means. So it probably seems like a good place for developers to maybe try something out or explore a little bit, see if they can find a way to leverage page templates to benefit the website that they're creating.
Yeah. And one last thing to add, when you use templates, you are also able to save those templates as a pre-designed template. That means you can add widgets, sections, and so on in the editable areas of those page templates and prepare, for example, an article page, which contains a stage in the header with images, and then the headline and some content maybe. And you say, this is the way how my article page should look like. But I have designed it as a marketeer, and not a developer has designed it as a static page. I think this is the way every content page for articles should look like in the future. Then you can save this template. It's my article template number 1 or whatever. And from this point, every marketeer can, when he adds a new article page, can use this template as preset and does not have to recreate every structure. He does not look on the page the colleague has designed first and do it one by one in the same way. He just can click, I want to use this template, and then he just have to change the properties of the widgets, but he do not have to place the widgets in the same areas again and again and again. This is also a very great benefit of using page templates in the page builder. It's a hidden feature, I think. No, not so much people are aware of this great power of templates, and it is really worth a try. Yeah, I would strongly recommend this.
Okay, so if I'm a marketer and I'm using the page builder, but the development team has decided not to use page templates, I don't get any of this quick page creation where I can use a preset or a predefined set of components and create a brand new page with it. I have to start from scratch each time.
Yeah, I think you should consider to do it at the start. It's possible, but it's not so easy.
Yeah.
So when you don't want to miss the power of templates, add them directly from this when you start developing. It's then very easy, even if you do not use template properties, or even if you do not have a second template which can be toggled around or something like that. It's not that complex. You just have to add some little pieces of code, and then it's working. So I would strongly recommend to think about using templates always from the start. It enables you as a developer to do great things in the future, even if you do not use them today.
Okay, so Kentico MVP is saying use templates, always use them from the start. I think that's probably some guidance that a lot of developers will hear and say, oh, okay, I need to go change the way that I've been doing things.
Yeah, this is what I would recommend. It's really great.
Okay. So page templates feel like a more advanced feature of the page builder, even though it's baked in there and you're saying developers should use it from the start. Are there other more advanced techniques with the page builder that you've used to accomplish some interesting thing for marketers or for the way that a web page is built out?
Hmm. So I don't know. But I think it's all done with given things when you create components, and as we spoke about, when you have it modular. I think what I can say about this is that you have sections working in a way that they bring more the structure to the page than content. Yeah, so consider to use sections for the classic would be one columns, two columns, three columns, and so on.
Mhm.
This is how I use them. Maybe you can add a headline for a section, but not more content. Content should be bring into this by widgets and not by sections. This is what I would recommend. So this would be the same regarding the properties of sections. When you have some section properties, concentrate on, for example, margins, paddings, background colors, or something like that, and not so much on content. Yeah. So do not add a rich text property for introduction text or something like that into the section. This can be added by the widgets, which are dropped into the section later. So this is also a good design from my point of view. And then, as we spoke about at the beginning, you do not have to add everything by widgets. Have a mixture of static content, page type, template, layout, master layout as well, and so on. And this depends on the degree of flexibility a marketing team should have in the web project. Yeah.
Yeah, that it's a lot of things to consider, but the developers don't have to use them all at once. They don't have to use everything on every page. They can learn each of these pieces and adopt them as it makes sense for the
Yeah.
websites that they're creating.
Yeah. I think it's also a good idea to have a look into the demos when you start engineering a new Kentico project. There are a lot of demos, trainings, and so on, where you can have a look on the architecture of the page builder. And it's also in the demos, it's done a little bit differently from demo to demo. So look at the architectures which are presented there, review it, use them as reference. And I think then you get a good idea of how the big picture will look like. And then you will have to decide what fits best for you and your team and your clients and so on. It's always an individual design.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like any developer that's listened to this conversation will come away understanding the page builder quite a bit better and also understanding how they can use it as a tool to allow marketers to have a great experience in Kentico when using the page builder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which, from my perspective, that's key. If the marketer isn't able to feel productive or confident with the page builder, they're not going to use it. So
Yeah.
if you do a lot of work designing components and page templates and things, and the marketer tries something and it just kind of falls apart, it doesn't look good, then they're going to say, you know what, I don't think I'll use any of this stuff because I'm not quite sure that it'll give me the experience for customers that I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned with keep it intuitive and not too complex. Because I have seen systems, not Kentico, other systems, which enables the editors to add very much widgets and sections and renderings and so on nested, unlimited into each other. And that's what I also like when we use Kentico, that we have only these 4 layers of content and not more, because in my experience, at least after the 6th or 7th layer, no one understands anymore what's created here and how you have to control it and what you have to set up and where you have to set up something to get this working. So from my experience, this leads very often to frustration on side of the marketing team or the editors who will work with the system, because they do not understand such a big complexity, and it has to be easy for them, intuitive, and it has to be easy and intuitive for people who are not such web enthusiasts as me or you. Yeah. So the most people who are working with such systems have a lot of things to do beside the website and beside content editing, because they are responsible for the whole marketing things in a company or something like that. So they do not want a system which is hard to understand and which is very time consuming to add some content. So this is what is working in Kentico very good, because you can create page builder components very easily and intuitive. You can explain your properties, what the property is doing, what they have to set up here or something like that. So this all things make it very easy for marketeers to work in this page builder. Yeah.
Well, that's a great summary, I think, of everything that we've touched on today.
Yeah.
A lot to digest, but so much great knowledge and insights in this conversation. I think that's all we have time for today, but love to have you back on for a follow-up expert chat and maybe talk about some other topics related to Xperience by Kentico. But I just wanted to say thanks, Elmar, for coming on this Xperience by Kentico expert chat.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. You're welcome. I like it very much, and I hope I can help furthermore in the follow-up meetings. Yes.